distinguished colleagues, my name is Ned Nwoko. I represent the good people of North Delta State. Mr. President, I arise to move that the Senate do receive and consider the interim report of the ad hoc committee on the incessant and nefarious acts of crude oil theft in the Niger Delta area. I so move.
Senator, now present the report first.
I need to lay the report on the table.
You need to lay the report first.
And my colleagues, this is an interim report of the ad hoc committee on crude oil theft on the investigation of the incessant and nefarious acts of crude oil theft in the Niger Delta and its actors. Mr. President, this is actually a voluminous report running into several pages, almost 40 pages. So I am proposing to simply go to the recommendations. I know how brisk you are. I know that normally you don't waste time on reports. So may I seek your indulgence to go straight to the recommendations?
That's very good. You may wish to go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee, after exhaustive deliberation and review of its findings, recommended as follows. 1, that the federal government should mandate...
That's page 32, distinguished senators. Page 32. Am I right?
Thank you. That the federal government should mandate the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, NUPRC, to strictly implement, enforce internationally acceptable crude oil measurement standards at all production sites and export terminals, or restore back to the Weights and Measures Department of the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment to the upstream sector and empower it to acquire and use state-of-the-art measuring equipment at all production sites and export terminals. This will promote and strengthen accurate measurements, transparency, accountability in the oil and gas industry. 2, the federal government should deploy adequate modern technology, equipment, logistics to security agencies to enable them function effectively. This may include the use of UAVs, such as quadcopters, for surveillance and integrity pipeline monitoring system to detect thefts and leaks. 3, federal government should establish a maritime trust fund for the purpose of supporting the development and maintenance of maritime infrastructure, services, and initiatives. The fund is strategic to improving maritime training, safety, security, and fostering economic growth. The federal government should set up a special court to promptly prosecute crude oil thieves and their collaborators. 5, federal government should immediately implement the Host Communities Development Trust Fund under the Petroleum Industry Act, PIA, to reduce sabotage. Next, all abandoned and decommissioned wells should be completely ceded to NUPRC, who should in turn hand such wells to modular refineries to reduce sabotage and increase crude availability for local consumption. 7, the ad hoc committee should be given the mandate to track, trace, and recover all proceeds of stolen crude oil transactions, both locally and internationally, as forensic review by the consultants shows over $22 billion, $81 billion, and $200 billion remains unaccounted. Conclusion, the committee appreciates the Senate leadership and the entire Senate for the opportunity to serve in this regard. It is the sincere hope of the committee that the recommendations will be strongly implemented to serve as deterrent for future theft of the nation's crude oil and help recover crude funds, stolen crude funds. Thank you, Mr. President.
Acting Chief Whip.
Crude oil thefts work that we did, it took us several weeks to do this job. And we traveled far and wide. We examined what happens, both where you produce your crude, the refineries, the way they transport them, and all the rest of them. Our report here, I thank you, Mr. President, that our chairman is very.
Were you a member of the committee? Are you a member of the committee?
Yes.
You don't allow those who are not members to contribute
I
now.
want to explain certain things. I'm coming.
You produce the report. Allow others to...
I want to tell you why you must accept our report wholeheartedly.
No need, I said it. Any other person, please. Who is
Okay.
Ningi?
You
captured, you did all this. So, Central Bauchi State. First of all, let me say this is a very detailed report. But this is a report that we should take our time, look at it, look at the findings. In view of the findings, whether or not the recommendation tallies with the findings. You look at page 30, foreign recovery. It goes, analysis of document by A.G. Abonyema, a consultant to the committee, revealed a total shortfall of 81 billion US dollars between expected receipts of crude proceeds declared by the NNPC DPR in 2016 and in 2017, and receipts declared by CBI respectively. Also based on interim investigation of crude sales from 2015 to date, other investigation by the international consultant in the United Kingdom and Canada, the committee projects the discovery of 200 billion of unaccounted crude oil sales proceeds, which require further investigation and recovery. So if you add this 200 billion plus 81 billion, it means there is a gap of 281 billion. But towards the end of the recommendation of the committee, this is where my problem lies. 7, the ad hoc committee should be given the mandate to track, trace, and recover all proceeds of stolen crude oil transactions, both locally, internationally, as forensic review by the consultant. That is my problem. My problem is that we are a parliament. You can only track, trace, and report. Track, trace, and report. Nowhere in this constitution, no decided rules have given us a legitimate mandate to recover. So what I think we should do, the committee should know, they should give us specified losses, locations, and then report to the Senate. And then the Senate, in its conclusion, will now say, this is channel to either EFCC, ICPC, for pursuing their legitimate action. Because to recover is a very big something that is not within the purview of the parliament. All of us all we do is to find, you can track, yes, you can trace, but to recover, that is not our job. That is the point I'm trying to make, Mr. President. And lastly, when this ad hoc committee was given, even though this is an interim report, I think they should go ahead and trace and track and report. Thank you. Former Chairman, Committee on...
Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, Adeola Solomon Olamilekon, representing Ogun West Senatorial District in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Mr. President, I want to also commend the committee that handled this investigation on the interim report of the ad hoc committee on crude oil. Mr. President, this is still an interim report. The final report is not here, but from the interim report, the ad hoc committee's recommendation on the fact that we should trace, track, and recover oil proceeds of stolen crude oil transaction. Mr. President, as forensic review by the consultant shows over $22 billion, $81 billion, and $200 billion. Mr. President, this fund that is mentioned in this report, if you look at it, all put together, we are talking about $300 billion. And it is expected that the consultant that handled this should come up with the detailed list of those that are involved in these kind of actions, so that we can start from there by, one, looking at how they arrived at this to defraud the country to the sum of $300 billion. In terms of tracking and recovery, that is a different segment entirely. And that is why are we not go ahead and jump into conclusion on this report, because it's still interim in nature. So I will employ the committee to give us more information about this recommendation before we go ahead and agree to it. Because we need, he mentioned 300 billion. Where are we going to trace it from? Which companies that are involved? How did they come about this 300 billion? The report of the consultant is only known to the committee, it's not known to us in the Senate. So if we go ahead and give our blessing that yes, they should go ahead, how do we know who and who to go and trace? It's like empowering the committee, giving them that omnibus power to go after anybody. But they must give us the list. They must show us the list.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So
I called you because of experience.
Thank you, sir.
Also have experience on this, Chairman of Operation Committee in the Senate and in the House. You see, also a fellow of Anand.
Start commending the committee. Sorry, I'm Senator Ibrahim Dankombo representing Gombe North. I want to commend the committee too for a wonderful job that they have done, very thick report. And secondly, to align myself with Senator Ningi, that in view of the complexity of this oil theft, because I'm sure my colleagues, when they look deeply, they will think it's only ordinary companies. There are also small oil people who carry the oil and put it in ports and burn the oil. There are issues of oil leakages. There are issues of so many things connected with oil, which our people will tend to learn and make more detailed legislation. Thirdly, there are several reports quoting so many figures from NAITI, from Auditor General, from so many things of number of figures. But from the title of the assignment, they were supposed to report all this, and the actors. Actors is there in the title. Nefarious acts of crude oil theft in the Niger Delta, and the actors, to identify who are the actors. You know, in this. So we need to know who are the actors. 3, 4, we need to know well by well, rig by rig, where these losses occurred. And if they have occurred somewhere illegally, we need to know which ones are illegally burnt. And if they occur through losses or pipeline leakages, we need to know how many from which point to which point. How many And how many liters of crude oil was lost in that kind of category? So it's a comprehensive work that needed to be done, sir. We will accept this one. Maybe chairman will accept it as an interim report while the work goes on. And like you rightly said, our work is to make recommendation. If 20 billion is missing, home or abroad or anywhere, it's not the responsibility of any senator or any lawmaker to go and locate and take that money. We have, by law, given that powers to certain agencies of government to carry out. I so submit, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think we are well guided and fellow. So here, the Senate, or indeed the National Assembly, doesn't have the constitutional latitude or empowered by any law of the Federation to go and collect money from anybody. Ours is to produce a report and then send it to the executive arm of government. And then the president, who is the head of the executive arm of government, may choose to use the consultants or EFCC or whatever, or the police to recover these funds. But it's not within our latitude, our legal mandate. It's not. So that's why I called him, being an experienced person, to say his mind. He's saying it clearly. So ours is to do and send to the executive arm of government. We cannot go and collect one kobo from anybody. We cannot take any money. So I think by the time we get here, I said, Ningi, you said it because you are also experienced, you know. Well, we have the Accountant General, former Accountant General of the Federation. Maybe he wants to say something about it. You have the floor, Senator Nkwambo.
Thank you, Abaribe. And I represent Abia South. I actually align myself with the last speakers and want to further state that this is an interim report. And in an interim report, you do not go ahead to seek or look at, I think what you do is that you accept the report and then you wait for the full report, giving them the advice that they have gotten from us today. I have an issue with the report, but I just will let it slide until I see the full report. Thank you.
Any other?
Ashiro.
I look at this figure. $300 billion. That's almost a 10-year national budget. And I look at what this amount of money can do to the development of Nigeria as a nation. What this amount of money can do to take us out of perilous poverty we are in today. And I don't want us to joke with it. Rather than that one, I want us to give encouragement to the committee. Because what they're asking for, three things. They said to track. They should track. We should encourage them to track. Give them all the wherewithal to track. To trace. We should encourage them to do this. We will not have the mandate to recover. But I think the two aspects of track and trace, they should be encouraged and they should be empowered to be able to do this for the greater benefit of Nigeria as a nation.
Well, thank you very much, Distinguished Nwoko. You've heard about the comments. What you need to do is to go and recraft or continue, get all those involved, name by name, location, and so on and so forth. And then you put your report together so that we can submit that to the executive government who will pursue those who have cheated Nigeria, and then whatever they took will now be recovered. So you go out there and then do the needful. You've done very well. We are proud of you. So continue. No, he will the Senate will continue. We'll conclude. He wants to chip in something himself.
On reparation, And then the Special Ad Hoc Committee on Crude Oil Theft, headed by our brother, distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko, for this interim report. I believe it's a step in the right direction. So we will not go into the full prayers until we have the full report before us. But with what we have now, it's work in progress. So we thank you and commend you on behalf of the Senate for the efforts that you are putting. And we say continue, you are in the right track. And God will finally bless your efforts as you present us with a full and final report. Leader of the Senate, please approach the chair.